Welcome to the Popko Project Podcast, a platform for the discussion and discovery of arts and entertainment. We focus on highlighting people and events that add value to the world around us. Visit us on all social media platforms by searching the Popko Project or visit our website at thepopkoproject.com. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for listening. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Are you still cutting your own grass? Are you still trying to get your landscaping to look perfect on your own? That sounds sweaty. That sounds like a lot of work. That sounds like a job for Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Family owned and operated, Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services, located on Kern Street in Exeter near Blue Ribbon Dairy, has the quality and experience to get your yard looking its best. The Garden Center offers plants, trees, sod, mulch, rocks, flowers, topsoil, grass seed, straw bales, and much more, while the Lawn and Landscaping Services offers mowing, trimming, planting, and full landscaping. And also new at Keller's Garden Center is the Zen Chaser Bonsai Studio, offering bonsai trees, supplies, and classes. Visit them on their social media page for more info. Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Get your free estimate today. This episode is also brought to you by Paulson Tours. For almost 30 years, this family-owned and operated business has been sending people to sports games, racing events, concerts, vacations, and more. I myself have been using Paulson Tours for trips to Red Sox games, wine festivals, and an annual guys trip to Boston for St. Paddy's Day for almost 15 years. Check out the current trips being offered over at paulsontours.com. Life's a trip. Go with Paulson Tours. Gentlemen, welcome to the special Father's Day edition of the Popko Project Podcast. How are you?
Good. How are you?
We're good. Doing well, Popko. How are you?
Surviving the smoke out of 2023. How you guys doing?
Same way.
Same, man. It's like I woke up this morning and I was heading to work and I asked myself, am I living on Earth or did I somehow transport to Mars? I'm not really sure.
It was crazy. It was actually getting old on Facebook and social media because we've been dealing with the smoke for 3 days now. But it's actually June 8th. We're recording this prior to Father's Day, but so we're dealing with the smoke. I think it's better today than it was yesterday. Yesterday was pretty bad.
Yeah, much better today.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
It's hard to go outside. I went outside. I was like, wow, I can't breathe.
It definitely felt like you were sitting around a campfire for a few days if you were out there long enough. I mean, like you're sitting around a fire, you get that smell of just like burnt wood, from being out there for a while. It was kind of like that. If you were out there for more than 5-10 minutes, you were like, man, I felt like I just left a campfire I was there for a couple hours.
That's how my clothes smelled when I walked in my house. Like I had been in a campfire. And actually I had to jump in on the whole social media nonsense. And I actually put, I don't know if you guys ever saw the meme where it says my special talent, and it's like 3 images of somebody around a campfire, and the first image is them, the smoke from the campfire blowing in their face, and then the guy moves, and the smoke follows him, and he moves again, and the smoke follows him again. So I use that as the my way of joining the sheep posting on social media.
Like that.
I tried to use it to get more business at the rink because I said, don't let your kids be playing outside. Come skate and smoke free in here.
Yeah.
Well,
Butch,
Butch. I mean, you're a little older than me, I think. We spent a lot of our early 20s in smoky clubs.
Yes.
We're born for this. We're ready.
Nasty smoky clubs. And then you go home and jump in bed and to wake up in the morning like,
I used to shoot darts on Monday nights with the guys. We would do a traveling dart league, and it was all at like VFWs. And those old guys loved to smoke. This is years ago. They loved smoke. And I would get home and I would have to shower, clothes off, shower before I got into bed because my wife couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, VFWs still go hard like that. I mean, even performing out, I did the VFW last year and we didn't do it outside. The one that's in Scranton. and we had to do it inside. And I was like stuck under this old school, like makeshift where the TV sits on it. And then there's like the little slots over here. And it's just straight up like the ventilation system hasn't probably been working in years since their kitchen hasn't been working. So you just got to kind of roll with it. But yeah, I mean, VFW still go hard.
Yeah.
Hard like that.
A lot of respect, though. Respect.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I wanted to do this. I've been kicking around this idea of doing a Father's Day edition of the podcast. As you guys know, I think the podcast is focused on entertainment and music and things like that. And obviously, Adam, you kind of checked that box. You're involved with the MDG crew. And I do want to take a moment real quick. Just a few months ago, we lost a member of the MDG crew, Bob Foley, who was a friend and a great father and a great husband. And it's a sad moment, and the world experienced a huge loss, especially his family. So, shout out Bob Foley.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome, Popko. Yeah, definitely lost a great guy. Will always be a huge part of who we are, what we became, and definitely left his footprint in this area for sure. So, definitely a tougher Father's Day without him here, but he's definitely here in spirit. So,
for sure. And Butchie Feist, I'm not sure if you were ever a musician. I've just known you as a integral part of crowds at shows over the years.
Always, yeah. My whole family does. Both brothers are drummers, and brother-in-law. So I was always in the scene. I never could put the time in to doing it. I could play a little guitar, a little bass. But I never could put the time in. I was more concerned about the party and part of it.
Same.
Yeah.
We're like best friends who never really hung out that much.
And it was fun. It was some fun time. I feel bad for the younger generation today, these kids going out, because they don't have what we got to experience.
It's funny too. Butch, how old are you?
47.
47. So you're 7 years older than me. So
I feel like I'm 22.
There you go. You look.
That's all that matters.
Yep.
And you look great. You don't look 47 at all. But yeah, so you experienced far more in 7 years than I did. And then Adam, I think you're a few years younger than me.
I'll be turning 39, so we're right around the same.
Okay, so yeah, we're about the same.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how like those generations, like those 4-year gaps or 5-year gaps, like they change so much. Like Butch, you saw so much more than I did, and then Adam and I were kind of in the same time. Like even my wife, who's 4 years younger than me, she missed the Murray days in Wilkes-Barre. And it just keeps falling off. And I think the kids these days, they just they don't party like we used to. They're more health conscious.
Yeah, or they do it different. I don't know.
It's definitely different.
Even the scene has definitely changed.
I look at the younger kids, like even at 17 and 18 now, with being around them a lot, and they're not. I feel like they don't get into trouble like we used to back in the day. They don't do that. They're not getting into that kind of trouble.
Well, I think that I wonder if that's part of the upbringing that we've provided them. And let's get into that. I mean, we're here to talk about the most important thing in our lives, and that's being fathers. And Adam, you have a little boy who's turning 6 and a little girl turning 9.
Yep.
And Butch, you have 2 kids, 17 and 19. Are they both girls or?
Daughter 19, son 17.
Okay, so boy and girl, and I have a boy and girl too. So this is perfect. So we all have different stages too, which is cool. That's why I wanted to kind of get these differences of opinions here. I think. I mean, I don't know, Butch. I mean, like, I'm sure you've kind of raised your children to, don't do what I did.
Yes, definitely. And especially having a daughter first. What order are yours in?
I have a boy who is 5, and my little girl she'll be 11 months when this airs.
You good. You got a boy to protect.
I'm hoping, because I can't do it. I'm too far out of shape to help.
Same with me, man.
So I did it, I wanted to make sure my daughter, because not that she had to protect my son, but I raised her to try to be strong and not take shit from anybody, you know, like, because especially being a female, you have to be like that. And you might think this is funny, but I had this, I would not let her have a boyfriend until she was 16. Like it wasn't even in the cards at all. Like it would not have, because I knew how it was when we were younger. And, you know, not that I was trying to save her heartbreak or anything or stop her from doing anything, but I just knew, especially now, you know, running Skateaway and seeing what all these young kids are doing, you'd be surprised what a lot of these parents are okay with, letting their kids at 12 years old go sleep all over other people's houses and things like that. The other opposite sex. I'm like, the parents are just so lax today. A lot of parents just let their kids just run free. And like, I wasn't letting that shit happen. I'm sorry. She was mad at me a lot, but I'm like, but now she thanks me for it.
Right.
Butch, is there like a strategy that you have in place for your 16-year-old? Like, did you like challenge, like when she first came to you and was like, hey, you know, I got a boyfriend or whatever the case may be. Do you put a challenge in place? Like for me, I'm not going to be like challenging anybody to a fight because I can't do that, but I could challenge them to like a dance off or like a singing contest about the extent of what I can do. So like, what's your strategy at that age?
They just see me and they're scared, but my daughter, actually, this is not a joke. She did, what is it called? What are they called? Not a spreadsheet, but like a PowerPoint presentation asking me if she could have a boyfriend at 16. Like she came to me and she said, Dad, I really want to date this kid.
Actually pretty awesome.
Yeah. And she was like, this is the reasons why I think he's good. Cause I gave her this red flag list. And I was like, listen, this is going to save you a lot of time and energy. If any of these things they're doing or they're acting like this, or how do they treat their siblings? How do they treat their parents? Do they talk back? How do they do all these things? And if any of them are negative, walk away, because it'll save you a lot of headache in the future. And of course she didn't listen. You know, she went against it a little bit here and there at 17 and 18. But for the most part, now she's going to King's College, still doesn't have a boyfriend, and she's very career goal oriented. She's just finished her freshman year at King's. She's got her first apartment and working full time for Lackawanna Dermatology. She was a PA student. She just switched her major. But like I made sure that my kids knew disappointment, because so many parents, they never let their kids fall, and they never hear the word no, and they never hear that the world is a shitty place. It is, whether we think it or not. There's a lot of bad shit going on. So if your kids never have disappointment, or feelings are never hurt, how are they going to handle it when they are 18 and someone treats them like shit at their first job? What are they going to do? So you have to prepare them for that stuff.
Right.
That's pretty intense, and I like it. I'm glad we're doing this, because I'll take these notes.
I do as well. I love it, because that's kind of how I was raised. And Popko, I'm sure you can probably relate to that. Like the way that we were growing up and the way that my parents raised myself and my brother and I, that's kind of the way that we were, right? Like that's the way you were brought up. Today, I'm sure it's probably different, because the way that I raise my kids is very similar. Like, we're just not going to give you hand-me-outs. Like, you got to work towards what you're trying to do and go at it yourself, right? Versus, how maybe other people are raising their kids today. So a lot of what I've learned as a parent, even now, is kind of what I've taken as being raised kind of in that same way as well, which has helped me become the person that I am today. And now I'm trying to make my kids become that as well, do things for themselves, learn how to do things for themselves, be confident in what they do, and go out and take what they want, but doing it the right way.
Yeah. Butch, at what age did you start becoming kind of like hard on your kids? Because they're at a certain age, they're still innocent. They're still just kind of growing. And I tend to think that I'm a little harder on my son than I need to be, only because of what you just said. Like, the world's a shitty place. I want him to be able to, take care of himself and be independent. But also when I do that, sometimes it's kind of almost like unrealistic expectations, because he is only 5 years old. And my wife kind of keeps me in check to a degree. Like, hey, he still is only 5 years old. Like, let's chill out a little bit. But I mean, I agree with her when she kind of puts me in check. It's like, okay, you're right. But I'm looking so far in the future sometimes, because I'm so worried about the world we live in and kind of navigating that? Like, was there a certain age you kind of like,
I guess it was
started?
like a situational thing, like it's what was the actual thing he was doing, like it would, I guess that was what it would depend on, if he was beating on his sister or something like that, or different things, that, not that he would, but I'm just saying, like, I guess it was more like how I would be with him would depend on what the situation was. Okay. But I was always, even that, like, you ever see, let's say your kid falls and like skins his knee. You don't want to make a big production out of it. And like, oh, I see so many parents do that. And then like they're making this kid want reaction. They're making them want everybody to, so if I see, it's so much easier, especially like I said, I deal with broken bones every week at Skateaway. I deal with all these things. And like, I saw a great example about 2 months ago. A guy, Mike Schlutte's name is, he's a physical therapist. His wife comes to my shop. His daughter fell and broke her arm, and he laid on the ground, and you could see it was snapped. Most people would freak out, he comes in all super calm, and his demeanor helped his daughter be nice and calm. He wrapped it up, picked her up, talked to her soft, good. Most people are like, oh my God, they flip out, and then it makes the child out. So it's like those situations where, if you don't make a big deal out of it, they're not going to think it's a big deal, so it is like situational, depending, but there are ways, especially like I said, with you, because you're molding your child. Your child becomes what you create. They really do. Yeah. It's like they especially as they get older, when you see, like, my daughter is me, like her personality, her drive, my wife's always like, oh my God, she is exactly you. It's her personality, like the way she, and it's good and bad, but they are sponges, and they're watching everything you do and every reaction you have. And people don't realize that. I see so many people that like reward their kids for acting bad. They'll be like, oh, come on, I'll take you to McDonald's. I'll take you to the store, after the kid just did something terrible. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough.
It is. And you don't want to be hard on your kids. You don't want to be, you want to take care of them. There's so many of these helicopter parents out there that, like, they never let them fall. They never let them have a bad day. They never let them. And I've, like I said, I see it so often, even with clients at the shop, where they'll bring their kids in, and like, we had this one guy, this kid was smacking his father in the face, ripping his beard, like, and I was cringing. I'm thinking, like, you're creating that. You're letting that child, that's a child. He doesn't know that. You're letting him beat and smack you in public, this poor father. And I'm like, he's not even reacting. I'm like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so hard when you see other people doing it, and you want to say, listen, you really want to change your situation, change the way you're doing this. It's all wrong.
Yeah, it's, you talk about a helicopter parent and things like that. Obviously we don't ever want to see our kids get hurt, and I think that's the double-edged sword, right? Like, you don't want to see them hurt. So your instinct is to, like, kind of like prevent them from doing whatever they're doing so they don't get hurt.
Right.
I have a huge saying, like, I feel like I'm saying this is why blah 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 all the time. Like, if I tell my son not to do something, it's because it's for his benefit. And then when the bad thing happens, I said, this is why we don't do this. This is why we do this. And I just think it's we're constantly trying to do the right thing, and so they don't get hurt, and so they don't,
right.
Yeah, but it's hard. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do when you also want to let them fall.
Not just like physically hurt. I mean, they're like their feelings too. Like,
yeah, of course.
Have you guys experienced any school bullying with your kids at all? Kids bullying them.
We had an incident this past year where there was, well, actually I shouldn't say this past year, last year, not so much this past year, but last year when my daughter was on the bus, there was this boy that was on the bus that was kind of picking on other kids on the bus, calling people names, flicking people on the bus, and to the point where the school bus driver had to, say something a million times, and then they had to eventually just report the kid. So it was getting to the point where the parents were starting to complain. We were starting to figure out what was going on. And then eventually we found out like what the situation was. It actually got to the point where they actually removed this kid off the bus because he was such a problem. So yeah, that's probably the extent of, the name calling and some of those things that he was doing on the bus, to the point where it was other kids were like telling their parents. And then my daughter was kind of one of the people that was also getting bothered as well. And then they pulled this kid off the bus.
That's one of the hardest things to go through when your kid comes home being bullied, and like you go to the school, you try to do all the right things, and it doesn't happen for you. It doesn't stop, and luckily for you, they pulled him off the bus. But same thing happened with my daughter. What I would do is the kid would act up in the back of the bus. They'd bring him in the front with all the kindergartners. What's he going to do there? He's going to tease them. And
exactly.
Same issue. And that's where it's tough, where you got to, and I always told my kids, I'm sure, you hear this all the time, is I'll never be mad at you if you stick up for yourself, and don't ever hit somebody first. But if someone puts their hands on you, you can fight back. You can fight, and I'll never be mad at you to fight back. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
I'm desperately trying to get my son to do like karate or self-defense, just because I want him to be able to take care of himself should anything ever happen, because it's going to happen. Kids are mean. The internet exists now, which is a whole different story. As far as bullying goes, especially, it's just a tough world, and he wants nothing to do with it. I took him to some classes to see it, and he's like, nah, not for me. I just need to just do it. But yeah, it's a tough experience, I guess. I mean, I personally haven't had it yet, because my son just finished pre-K, so he's going to kindergarten next year. And then obviously my daughter is 11 months old. So, I mean, she probably gets bullied by the cat more than anything else. Or maybe she bullies the cat. She's probably the bully in that scenario. But I've been fortunate.
Yeah, hopefully, because it does suck. But, like I said, for you, it might be a little different because you have the older boy. And don't worry, he's only 5. He's not going to get interest in that stuff yet, but maybe in a couple of years, because I tried it too. Yeah. I did the same thing. I'm like, I took them, and they were doing like I wanted them to learn like more of like a self-defense, but they did these kata things, and it was like, is he really gonna be able to fight doing all that? Like, I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna be able to actually learn how to protect himself with this. And then he lost interest real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't had any, he hasn't really expressed any interest in that. Like, we do the whole soccer thing. We do baseball right now. My daughter does dance. She does art stuff. I mean, when I was a kid, I tried karate because I wanted to be like Johnny Lawrence from Cobra Kai.
Of course.
Like, way before the Cobra Kai series, right? Obviously everybody wanted to be Johnny Lawrence, even though Daniel LaRusso and Miyagi were kind of, here. But that didn't work out. And I ended up getting into NSYNC and learning NSYNC dances and becoming a boy band member. So my battles were on the dance floor. I wasn't going to fight you with my hands, but I'd fight you with my feet. So I didn't become Johnny Lawrence, but I became a dancer. So
I bet you get the girls that way, though.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and my little guy's like, he loves to dance now, and he does his thing. And I always joke around with him, like, hey man, listen, there comes a time where somebody wants to throw down. Just don't throw down. Just start windmilling and like spin it on your back. Throw a piece of cardboard down, ask somebody to battle you. They'll think you're crazy and just walk away. It'll never happen. So
that's good.
That's another thing though, with this whole crazy sporting. My sister back then we played sports seasonally, and we played.
Dude, it's so nuts. Go ahead, and I'll chime in too. But it's nuts.
It is. God, it's nuts.
So I mean, I talk to a lot of parents who have kids in sports. Obviously, the internet exists. You can watch it happen in front of your eyes on a screen, right? And it's just like when I was a kid growing up, we had one big black bag. The coach would come in, dump it out. There was 5 helmets. You shared the helmets. There was 3 or 4 bats. You shared the bats. You used the bat that was too big or too small for you, just based on your size at the time. There may have been one kid who had their own bat. Maybe his parents had a little more money, or maybe he was an only child, so it was just easier for them. But this dude, and it's like I said, seasonally, baseball was spring, summer, and you played that, and when it was over, it was over. Then you did, basketball in the fall or football in the fall, and then basketball winter, whatever it was. But now it's travel league this and travel league that, and the kids are playing baseball all year round. Parents are dumping so much money into their kids to do all this, thinking they're going to be the next Alex Rodriguez. It's not going to happen. It's crazy. And I always say it's our fault. We are the ones doing this.
I coached from my daughter was 4 years old. I coached her in baseball from 4 till 12. And then my son took him after that. So I coached for a lot of years in baseball. And one how they do the field day, is your son in baseball yet or anything?
Yeah, he just finished coach pitch, his first year of coach pitch this year.
How to do how they do the field day, the first opening day, they do a little parade.
Yep.
That at the mountaintop, they do this parade and they all go back to the field. And then they had like a couple speakers, and they had a speaker. I don't know if it was Misericordia or Kings or Wilkes, one of those schools. It was the baseball coach. And he walked up and he goes, "All right, parents, I'm going to tell you something right now. Listen close. None of your kids are going to the pros." I was like, yes, that's awesome. And he goes, so don't think they are. Don't treat them like that, and don't treat the coaches like that. They're here to have fun. Let them be kids and have fun. The chances of them going to the pros are slim to none. So let them be kids. Let them have fun. This is supposed to be fun for them. These coaches are volunteering their time. Don't yell at the coaches. And it was the best speech I heard. And that's what I see now. All these parents, for what they're using to pay for these sporting events, if they just saved that for their kids' colleges, they'd probably have their first 2 years paid off.
Yeah.
But the problem is, you got to keep up with the Joneses, and you can't, like, if your kid's involved, it's like, well, everyone has their own bat, dad or mom. Like, what about me? And it's like you feel bad, and what do you say? Like, tough shit. Like, go find. I don't know what you say, but like, we're the ones doing it.
That's okay though, because you could. I mean, I did that. I got them bats in their own helmet, because even with me, like I don't like the sanitary part of sharing helmets.
Yeah, right.
Lights and things like that, but that's to one extent just buying them their own bat. But the travel stuff is like it's so, and they're gone. They're in Jersey this weekend, Philly next weekend, hotel rooms, and like, and I understand, but half the time the kid's getting burned out and they don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's nuts. Nuts.
Especially at those ages, people lose interest. You know what I mean? You kind of realize, at that point, like, what do people really want to stick with something? My philosophy, even with my kids, is like, my daughter was kind of feeling that with dance. She was like, well, she had a recital in the beginning and they have their last recital coming up. And she's like, I don't know if I want to do dance anymore. I'm like, listen, you made a commitment. You got to stick with it until it's done. And then after that, and you get through the second recital, if you want to stick with it, you can. And then, or you can, or you don't have to. It's up to you. And the same with baseball. Like, my little guy loves baseball, but then, like, he'll quickly turn his attention to something else. He's like, well, I want to do this, but I don't want to do that anymore. I'm like, gotta stick with it, brother. Like, you made a commitment. Your team needs you. When the season's over, you can decide if you want to continue on or not do it. But Popko, you said something interesting. And I think Butch kind of piggybacked off of this, but when we were kids, it was so different, because I played at the Marvin Dutch Gap, and it was very similar like that in North Strand. Like, coach would bring in the bag and there would be like 10 helmets, 7 bats, extra gloves, extra everything. So, like, maybe somebody didn't have something, or their parents couldn't go out and they couldn't afford the newest Easton bat, or the best Wilson glove that was out there at the time. So you would always have something to share. When I got my little guy involved in baseball last year, this is the second year now, you've seen some of these teams and how they roll up. Like, you would literally think that you were in MLB.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of them with the gear, like the gloves, the shoes, everything. My guy's just rolling in, like, his helmets it's like 3 sizes bigger than his head. fits on there the right way. Try to get it in there to fit. He's got his bat and he's got his glove, but like nothing else like special. And he doesn't really care. I mean, he's out there to have fun, like we said, have a good time.
Right.
But like some of them are rolling in, like it's like there's one girl that's on the team. I don't even think she qualifies to play baseball anymore in their league because she should be in like little league. She looked like the Icebox from like Little Giants. Like she's like super super tall. I'm like, is that like the Icebox from Little Giants? Like I'm so confused here. This girl is like 6'11" and my son's like this big. It's like literally like a little guy. I'm like, how is this even fair? But it's so true. Just the nature of the game of the whole keeping up with the Joneses. I think that was like the best saying because like that's what people try to do. I guess when you look at it, like growing up, even for myself, like yeah, we had things like my parents would get us stuff, but like we didn't have everything. We did the best we could, and we had what we had. But now it's like it's kind of I feel like it's gotten worse. Like now it's like everyone's got all this fancy stuff coming to play, T-ball or whatever it may be, and you're like, holy moly! Like, am I missing something here?
Yeah, my son had a helmet that he used. Like a friend of his outgrew that helmet, gave it to my son. I did buy him a bat, but I went to buy a bat bag. I'm like, these are so expensive.
So expensive.
I asked in a community page if someone was trying to get rid of a baseball bat bag. Someone kindly offered it up for free. I took it. My son played the entire season with some of the other kids' last name on the bag the whole season. That's just like, I'm not doing this yet. I'm not doing this right now.
He used to have that Played Again Sports store. I don't know if you guys
I heard about that.
Great store. They had a little guy had that when my kids were young, and it was up near Leggio. It was up near the Woodlands, and you could go there, and people would, I guess, sell or sell their used equipment to the store, and they would turn around and sell it. So you go up there and get bags, you can get gloves, you can get anything, any sport too. So that was nice having that back then. I don't know what happened to it, but that's probably because everyone wanted new stuff.
Right. I mean,
yeah,
that sounds like a great store. It really does.
Yeah, I don't think we had anything like that up by us. Now that I'm thinking, I mean, we had like
it's probably 10, 12 years ago we had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, I feel like we jumped right into like the current life, but I want to go back really quick and just kind of get your the very beginnings of fatherhood. I mean, and Butch, I'll start with you. What were your initial thoughts and emotions when you found out that you were going to be a dad for the first time?
Well, I couldn't wait to be a dad. I'm the oldest of 6 kids, and we have a big family, a good family, and I could not wait to be a father. Like we got married and instantly, wanted to get pregnant. My wife to get pregnant, so I loved it. I loved every minute of it. There's nothing like it. You think love. You think you don't know love until you have a child. You think you love your dog. You think you love your girlfriend. You don't know it until you see that baby looking up at you.
That's the truth. I wish I would have done it earlier.
Yeah.
I was 35 when we had our son, and there's the different reasons for why we waited long. My wife was in school forever because she's really smart and wanted to do well and succeed and all that kind of horse shit. but yeah, so yeah, we waited, and I just remember like when it happened, I was like, I wish I did this earlier. And then I waited. I didn't wait. There were some things that happened that why there's such a big gap between my son and my daughter. But now I'm the old father. But yeah, I wish I did it sooner because, like you said, yeah, I mean, there's nothing like it. Nothing else matters, and no one else will understand that unless they are a parent.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why it's so hard to see, parents that just aren't there for their kids. I'm their fathers. I mean, like I'll never understand that. I'll never understand how you could look at that kid and just not be there for them or walk out. I couldn't never imagine that.
I mean, I would imagine, you said that you came from a good family, so it was probably easy for you to you were raised the right way. So like that thought would never even cross your mind, right? But like, I get caught today, even not today, but like current life, seeing adults that are like losers or just rude individuals. And like, I think about them and I'm like, how did you get this way? How did this happen? And I think it's like this person probably had a shit life. Like maybe their dad left or their mom was not around or whatever it might be. But like something happened and it's like I can't imagine, like you said, like walking out on them and or whatever it might be that led them to this moment in their life where they're, at Turkey Hill on the phone, trying to check out with the person at the register and just being a total dickbag to the person working because they're too busy on the phone being whatever. It's just it's weird.
It is. Well, and a lot of that is back to parenting. If you could have two good parents and you could just be on the internet getting in this wormhole, like some people just go crazy with being indoctrinated by what they see out there. But a lot of times it is just bad parents. It's just, if you have bad parents, like I said, you said, I was lucky enough to have really good parents. And even that, like, not trying to change the subject, but my parents were great with watching my kids for us. Because that's whole nother obstacle is, do we do daycare? How do we manage this if we're both working? Because now both parents usually have to work. Yeah. Some have to have one stay home, but like, that's another scary thought too, is like, I don't trust someone else watching my kid at a daycare. You see all these horror stories. So, we were lucky enough my parents were great and they would watch our kids when we went to work.
Right.
They say it takes a village, right? And that's definitely true.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about daycare. My son is in daycare. He just finished daycare, and he just finished preschool, and he's going to kindergarten next year. And we had a great experience with daycare. But you're right, there are some out there, and I've seen. I know people who have had situations where it was bad.
Yeah,
it goes back to the world being a scary place too.
It really, really is. And you can't always be there to protect them. So you got to try to put it in their mind on, in situations. Cause I would try to tell my daughter too, like, you don't realize one situation can change the whole course of your life. One bad mistake, one getting in the car with the wrong person. So I always try to make her think of those things, like weigh it out before you make that decision. Really, really think about it. Cause one bad move and because we've all, I don't know about you guys, but I look back and I'm like, holy shit. I'm lucky to be here. There's sometimes some things that I did and I'm like, man, what the hell was I thinking? But we're lucky enough to get through it.
Yeah, I mean, there's times where my dad passed away when I was early 20s, and the things happened in my 20s that like I was like, you know what? He was watching over me on that one for sure.
Yeah.
But and I always said too, like my biggest fear about being a parent was like, I'm like, we can be the best parents in the world. We can, talk about right from wrong and all that kind of shit. But like, they can meet one wrong person, make the one bad choice and be shitty.
That's true. It's true. But I think if I really, 9 times out of 10, when you see that, they're not coming from good parents.
Right.
Like I've seen a couple instances where like kids will hit a certain age and be like, I'm 18 now, screw you, I'm gone. Like, you're not telling me what to do, and I feel like if you raise them right, they're not going to do that. If you raise them the right way and they believe in you and like even now, like my daughter, she's 19 and she still asks me before she does anything, like not before she does anything, but little things. She'll say, Dad, what do you think about this? So she'll come to me and ask my opinion before she makes the decision. And I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, right? I think like still to this day, I mean, Popko, you and I are very similar. My mom passed away when I was in my 20s. So, even to this day, I go to my dad for a lot of things, but I think even when my mom was alive, I used to go to her for things even in my 20s. I mean, and I think it's that trust. I think as a parent that, your parents have made it easy for you to come and talk with them about no matter what it is, right? And never be afraid to come to talk with them, no matter how old you are. And I think just kind of speaks to you, right, Butch, on what you've done as a father to be able to have your kids come to you and still want to talk to you and have a conversation where you see these things in the world, or you hear these stories that like, my kids don't talk to me because they say they can't come and talk to me about this and that. But I think it's the way that you communicate with them and keep that open communication, that it's okay for them to come and talk with you about things. And I think that's important as a parent. They feel like they can still trust you no matter what it is. So.
Yeah, I think you said, communication. That's the biggest thing, I think. And, I always have an open line with my son, and he's still young, obviously, but that's my goal, is just to be so open with him, and like, he'll never not know how much I love him. Like, and
they need that. They need to feel that.
Yeah, and it's always, I just always want him to know, and my daughter to know, that they can come to me and my wife with anything. And I think that's gonna, set them up for just, great things, and just being a good person. I mean, my dad and I, he was a man of very few words. He was very much my father, and we didn't talk a lot, and we didn't say I love you a lot. My mom and I were different. She was more vocal and more, she talked to us more. But yeah, it was just, it's hard.
Yeah.
Sure.
But Adam, like, how has your perspective on life changed since you became a father, especially now that you have a boy and a girl?
Oh man. I think I kind of agree with what we talked about before. I mean, becoming a parent, like, it definitely changed who I am as a person, for sure. I remember, it's funny because when I think back to, after my wife and I got married, we always wanted to have kids. We always talked about it, even when we first started dating. And then when it became a reality, I'll never forget this. I was down at Port Richards blasting out some karaoke. My buddy was having a little get together, and I said to my wife, I'm like, hey, you mind if I go and just belt out some tunes at Port Richards and hang out for a bit? And she's like, oh yeah, go ahead, go have a good time. And I came home, and I guess it gave her enough time to put on the room that wasn't finished yet. Still needed the drywall, the paint, the whole 9 yards. Like, she put a little note on there. So when I was going up the steps, I was feeling it coming back home, going up the steps and see the door. And it says, it had the pregnancy test. And then it says, you're going to be a dad. And I was like, is this real life? I was like super pumped and excited. And I remember going through that whole scenario, the minute when we went to the first appointment for like the ultrasounds and like to find out, because we ended up finding out what we were having. And they're like, it's a girl. And I'm like, oh God. I'm like, first and foremost, I don't own any guns. I don't know how to fight. I said to my wife, I'm like, I think I'm going to have to take like a karate class. Now I'm really going to have to become Johnny Lawrence. Like, that was a joke before.
Yeah.
And then, that whole experience of just becoming a dad, I think, Butch, you said it, like, seeing your child when they first come out, is like, God, it was like the craziest feeling in the world, that I am now responsible for this little thing that has arrived on the planet. And I got to make sure it's taken care of and fed and, all this stuff. There's a million things going through your head. I think I was more nervous trying to swaddle my kid than I was worrying about all the things that come after. Cause I'm like, how the hell do you swaddle? I'm like asking the lady, like, can you come in and show me how to swaddle again? But honestly, my whole perspective on life really changed. I mean, having my daughter really made me become the person that I am today. I mean, she's wrapped around my finger to this day still. I mean, on Thursdays, Popko, I think you and I talked about this, but I travel to my office in Philly on Thursdays. So like, when I leave super early in the morning, I leave them notes every morning, like every Thursday when I leave. And today she actually caught me because I forgot to leave a note, but I still called her at 7:50 because I called them at 7:50 while I'm on the road. And she's like, Dad, you forgot to leave a note this morning. I'm like, you're right, I forgot to leave a note. I'm like, but I did call you at 7:50. So, I mean, she's wrapped around my finger. And then when I had my little guy, I was kind of pumped about that because I'm like, all right, great. Now I got the boy. Let him kind of take care of, the people that I can't take care of. He can protect his sister, be there for her. And, he's the man. Like, I love him so much, and he's just the coolest little dude in the world. And just the little conversations you have with your kids at this age is like pretty awesome. Like I'll be sitting in bed, like Haley and I, like, we'll do like little beatboxing challenges, like in bed. And then my little guy, he'll be bringing out his Transformers, and we'll be doing battles in bed. And he's like, Dad, this guy's got to win. You can't win, but this guy's got to win. So you got to let me win. I'm like, all right, cool, dude. I'll let you win. It's cool. Like, we'll do the thing. But it's like all these little things that you're doing now that you look at, and it's like, and Butch, you can probably relate because your kids are older now. Like, I try to enjoy every single second, minute, hour, day as much as I can, because just the fact that my daughter's turning 9 and my son is turning 6 really scares the crap out of me. I'm like, holy shit, like, where did time go? First and foremost, how did we get here? And I think the other thing too that always like kind of like is just crazy is like I kind of follow in sync with my daughter. So, she's turning 9, I'm turning 39. When she's 10, I'm 40. When she's 11, I'm 41. That kind of freaks me out too. Because I'm like, there's like this invisible hourglass that I just see, like the sand, and I'm like, I gotta like enjoy every second, every moment. But it's absolutely changed my life, Popko. I mean, it's so hard to put, like, I could probably sit here all night and talk about every single thing that is amazing about being a dad. I think you hear so many people say who don't have kids, like, I wonder, God, what's that like? We're kind of out doing all this stuff, doing all these things and whatever. And I've got some friends who are about to become parents for the first time. And I'm like, so like, any advice? I'm like, it's the greatest thing ever. Like, you'll see, like, once you're in the mix of it, like, it really is. Like, there's nothing better. So it's definitely completely changed my life drastically. Awesome. For the better. It's so awesome.
Like you said, it does go fast. And you blink your eye. And that's why it's hard with the rat race of today, with work and sports and all this stuff. It's easy to just like have blinders on and just go like this. You have to stop and like I have to enjoy this, man. I have to watch them grow and watch them do this. You want to be there, and not just, so many parents now are just buried in their phone and they're not, they're not present for their kids. And you have to do, and especially now, it wasn't like that so much back in the day, but now, it's so easy to just say, here's your iPad and I'm on my phone, and like, so it's hard. I see parents, well, today, like I said, you want to be there as much as you can. Cause I never thought I'd have a daughter. I knew it would happen eventually, but I was in you guys, I was right where you were a couple, not long ago, and now they're both driving, and wait till you get to the car insurance.
No, I'm not ready for all that.
Yeah, no, thanks, Sam.
By the time you guys are doing it, but forget it, man. It's stupid.
Well, you guys mentioned like just being there and being present, and I think our parents, and I can't speak for yours, but I know like my parents worked, both of them, and they worked 9 to 5 or whatever, 8:30 to 5, whatever it might have been. And there's two things of this. They were at work all day. But they would come to games late. They would do this late, like, but also like there was never, you had their attention, when they got home, because there weren't other distractions like there is today. And what I'm trying to say is, it's so important to be present now. And like, I'm so fortunate. I work at Axelrad screen printing. I just want to give them a shout out because it provides me with so much flexibility, whether if I have to come in late because my daughter woke up at a weird time, or I have to leave early because my son's got a game and I'm coaching his baseball team, or I have to get him to where he needs to go. Like, that's so important. And it's so meaningful for me to be present and there for him, because those are core memories too. Like, they're going to remember those moments for the rest of their life. And my dad did coach my basketball team one year. I'll never forget that. And I'll never forget my parents coming to my games, and grandparents coming to games and shit like that. But like, I think it's just so important to like be there. And Butch, I know you own your own businesses, which I think can probably be a blessing and a curse at times, because you're so involved with what you're doing, and you own them, so you have to be there, and you want to be there for your children too. So I'm sure you probably manage them very well. And Adam, it sounds like you work from home except for Thursday, so it sounds like you have a good life, work balance too.
Yeah, I have a lot of flexibility, and I couldn't agree more with what you said, Popko, about just having, an employer that values you as a human being rather than just a worker for a company, right? Because there are a lot of companies out there that don't do things like that, give you the ability to have that flexibility to either work from home, kind of make your own schedule, do your thing. And I'm very fortunate to have what I have. And same for my wife. She has all the flexibility in the world. She works for herself, right? So it's nice to have that because it is important to be present. And I think too, I think even when I'm at my son's baseball games or my daughter's dance recitals, or the other day they had field day. So I went to the field day for that. And just seeing their look on their face, they're like, my dad's here. Oh, look, it's my mom, it's my dad. Or maybe some other people, they don't have that, right? Because I was in that situation, when I was younger, where sometimes my dad couldn't make it somewhere or my mom couldn't make it. And I think you always counted on that, right? You're like, oh, you're like looking around for your parents, and it's like that exciting feeling.
Yeah.
So just to see the look on their faces is like the greatest thing. Well, like even the kids had their little like spring concert like a couple weeks ago, and your kids are on stage looking out in the crowd to see if you're out there, and I'm like, and he's like, yeah, it's my dad, and there's my mom, So I think it's so important, and I think it's awesome to what you said and giving a shout out to your employer, because I think we're all fortunate, Butch doing your thing, me doing what I'm doing, you doing what you're doing, right? That we've all have that ability to be there and show up for the ones that are most important to us, because we're not guaranteed forever, right? Life could be certainly short, and I think it's important to prioritize things in life that are important, and that's family, right? So,
and memories, a lot of your childhood memories fade, but my dad was one. It was tough with 6 kids, but he always tried to be at our sporting events, and it's ingrained in my head. I think I was in grade school wrestling, and I had my first pin. And I remember just pinning and looking up and just seeing the excitement in my dad in his hands. And like, it's ingrained. It's like that. It's like the end of the movie with Karate Kid, like that. It's just in my head. And that's such a great memory for me.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. Butch, I wanted to ask you, I mean, you own 2 businesses, correct? So
I own the salon, and I'm in the process of buying the rink.
Okay. So
I manage it. I run it. Like I'm here, I'm doing about 70, 75 hours a week.
Oh, wow. Okay. So Style T in Wilkes-Barre, and then Roller King?
Skateaway.
Sorry.
Roller King was the one that was back when we were younger. Skateaway on Blackman Street.
Skateaway.
That's awesome.
So how do you balance the demands of
luckily now my kids are older, and that's another thing that comes into this whole equation is your other half. Like, your relationship has to be in sync to portray that to the kids, or to make the kids know that you guys are a team working together. So luckily now my wife, she works at the shop part-time. So my kids are grown now, so they're out of the sporting events and doing all that thing. The Skateaway thing kind of happened. My mom, I worked here as a kid. My first job, 14 years old. I loved skating. I lived here, and I got a job working in the skate room. Then I built myself up to DJ and floor guard, all that other fun stuff. And then all my other siblings worked here. We ran this place back in the 90s, and late 80s, early 90s. And we all left then. We all moved on. And a couple managers, no, it's been the same owner since 1972. And a couple managers were hired, and I guess bad things happened. Certain people got caught stealing, and the owner reached out to me, and he said, "Hey, will someone in your family take the place over?" And we all had careers. We all had jobs, all of us. And my mom was empty nesting, and she loved the place. She's like, I'll do it. My mom in 2010 took over the rink here, and we had to bring it back because these kids have no respect today. So I helped her, a little bit, but she brought it back, got the place, successful again. And then COVID hit in 2010, and she got scared because my dad wasn't the healthiest, and she got worried. And both my kids were working here. Both my kids started here at 14. So I said, you know what? I don't want to lose the place. I'll take it over. So I just started running it right probably 2019, well, whenever COVID hit, right after COVID, I started running it. And I came in and I just revamped the whole place. I painted the outside, the inside. I'm just trying to bring it back because it's such a good place for kids to have somewhere to go because everything's dying. Like there's not really places like when we were kids, you had options. There was places to go or meet your friends or do things, or you could actually walk outside and feel safe and go places. Now you have to be driven everywhere pretty much, and it's a good place for kids to come and still have fun. And everybody has a skating memory of when they were young and they got to go and skate couples with a girl or something, So I'm just trying to keep.
I mean, it was the place. Skateaway was the place. I mean, we obviously when we were growing up, we went to the one that was in Taylor.
Yeah, right? Same owners.
Yeah. So I mean, that was we lived there. I mean, we looked forward to that. Schools used to give us tickets to go to Skateaway. Like that was, you earn them to go there. But that's where we spent our weekends. And it was cool to have those things. Like even we were just talking about Zach's Periwinkles that used to be up by Kmart. Like we used to spend time up there as well. So if you weren't up there, which was the equivalent of Chuck E. Cheese at the time, but it was Zach Periwinkles.
Right.
And then you either went to the movie theaters. You went when the Vivant Mall actually had a theater. So you used to walk out of the mall and go right over to the theater, or you go to Skateaway, and that was what you did. But to know that that's still the foundation, because I've been to the one on Blackman Street a few times since then. And it's all your childhood memories come back. And the fact that you could still bring that there is amazing.
Smells, the different things, And see, I'm lucky enough that, and the reason I did as well is because I could be with my family. It's a family business. So, it's not like I'm away from them. My kids, they're always here. They're whether if they're not working, my son's here skating. So, and he has a lot of friends in the place. So, that's the one good thing. And I also could spend time with my parents because they still help out here. So that made it a little easier to spend all this extra time there, as opposed to just being out or going out drinking or doing something else. And I'm slowly cutting back, on the haircutting thing because I've been doing that for 25 years. And I had my fun with that. Got to do all kind of fun things, celebrity things, and this and that. I had fun with it, but standing every day, all day long for 8 hours is just not fun.
Yeah,
it's not.
I almost went to do an apprenticeship at a barbershop, and then I think one of the things that was a deterrent for me was these guys stay on their feet all day long.
Yeah.
I don't want to be hunched over.
What they don't tell you, I wish, again, and this is the things that I even with my daughter, when you'll see one day when they want to pick a career, you can kind of tell them the good, the bad. I didn't really have that because I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. And I went to school, I always cut my friends in high school. And ironically, a guy named Paul, who was one of the figure skating teachers at Skateaway when I was a kid, he said to me, "You're great at cutting hair. Why don't you go to school for it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, maybe I'll go to school. Maybe I'll do a barbershop." He's like, "No, you have to do women. You have to do women's hair." But what they don't tell you is it's great. And you build, but then at a certain point, you just do this. You flatline. You can't make more money unless you work more, charge more. You cannot there's not enough hours in the week to do it. So, you don't realize that. Plus, you're stuck in one area. You can't just pick up and, like he said, he gets to go to Philly one day or work from home. I can't ever do that. I have to be on every day. They're talking, you're physically using your hands, so your hands get beat up. It's just, especially with kids, I always try to tell them the pros and the cons. And okay, this is a great job. This is what you want to do, but just think of these things.
Yeah. But they know everything though. So you tell them.
Yeah, especially the daughters.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I mean, even my daughter now, she knows everything.
Yep. Yeah. Do you guys find which ones? I know they're always different, but which ones do you find easier, the boys or the girls?
A girl.
Your girl's easier?
Way easier. My little guy is like.
Is he a little boy?
Man, Oh my God, he's like bouncing off walls, runs laps around me. Like sometimes I'm like, bro, you gotta slow down. I don't even know what's happening right now.
How about you, John?
I mean, my son's he's pretty tame. He's a good kid. He's pretty calm. He's kind of got my demeanor, and my wife, we're very like, not that you're a wild man, Adam, but like we're just very like, just very chill. Very, I think that kind of rubs off on him to an extent. And then, I mean, our daughter is she'll be 11 months, and it's so I don't have enough time to really kind of,
Yeah, right.
but like I see her now, and like I know for a fact that she's gonna be trouble, just because like if she doesn't get what she wants, like she'll sit there and she'll grunt. And I'm like, and our son was so easy to a degree, where I'm doomed for her. And I always say, like, when we found out we were having a girl, of course I was happy, right? And I already had my boy, so I was like, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But like, I wanted a boy again, just because like I felt like I kind of knew what I was doing with that. Um, and we had all the toys and all the clothes for it already. But obviously, I love the fact that we have one of each. And my fear was like, I'm like, I hope she looks like me when she's older, because then I won't have to worry about the boys. But that would feel bad because she looked like me. But I'm fearful that she'll look like my wife, and who's just gorgeous. And I'm gonna have to possibly murder someone or have my son do it. I don't know.
Yeah. Just call me up. I'll do some dance battles for him. They'll run away, John. They'll be like, hey, who's this? Who's this guy? Be like, hey guys, what's up?
Be a crazy uncle. I've done that before plenty of times.
What do you guys we grew up in a time where we didn't have social media. What are your thoughts? And Butch, I mean, you have teenagers and older teens who grew up with the internet. I mean, what challenges did you, if any, did you kind of have to go through? And then Adam, we'll get to you, and I kind of want to see like what your thoughts are kind of heading into that world.
Well, I was, you'll see, because now with Snapchat and all these things, like I didn't let them have social media early. My son actually just got Facebook last night. Like, not that I told him he couldn't have it, but he just didn't care. He didn't even care to have it. But you have to look at their devices. You have to be on it, because my son a couple of times now, I think twice, he went on with Fortnite, and he bought all these, because you link, you're gonna link all your I don't know if you did that yet, but you have like these Apple IDs or something, and all of our stuff is linked, so I could find their phones if they're lost, and you have all these things linked together. Right. And at first, they never did anything, so I trusted them. But I always looked at their stuff. But my son just started buying all these. Like, he spent like $1,000 on Fortnite, and I'm like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? Luckily, I got to reverse everything, and then I had to he has to ask for permission to play things, which you live and learn with that shit. But you have to be able to look at their phones, like, always, especially with like predators and having sons and daughters. You have to look at their stuff. You have to look at their messaging, because you just don't know who could be looking out or messaging them. So, and who knows for you guys, because it's only going to get worse in the future.
Yeah.
It's shitty the way it is now, but you have to. And I do Life 360 with their phones. That's like an app where you can, not that I want to track them, but like I pay for the one with my daughter when she first started driving. It tells you how fast they were going. Yeah. You're on it. Like, you don't want to feel like you're falling around, but you just have to know that they're being safe. And especially with, like, I don't like Snapchat, because that shit, how it goes away, and they're addicted to that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Adam, what do you think about, heading into that? Like, there's studies done, and I think I just read one the other day where, kids who have, social media and phones at an early age, suffer from, whether it's depression or just self-image issues and things like that. They're just, higher rate of that happening. Have you and your wife talked about, like, what your plans are to introduce that to them, or try and keep it away for a certain amount of time?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I mean, my daughter has friends that like legitimately have like iPhones already, which is just crazy to even think about, right? Like, so she doesn't and she won't. They have tablets,
Yeah.
but those tablets are like, they're Amazon Fire tablets, which have like kid appropriate games on them that we can put ratings on. We have it, they turn on at a certain time and they shut off at a certain time. So they're not being down the rabbit hole, being on a tablet all day. Like it's the summer, they're going to play outside, they go to camp, like they're going to be doing all these activities this summer, right? Like getting them out and doing the things that we did as kids, whether that's riding their bikes, whatever it may be, right? Not stuck on an iPad. My wife has set up for the kids. So like I don't have, as you know, I gave up social media. I gave up Facebook years ago. And then I recently gave up like Instagram. I guess I kind of wanted to set an example for my own kids that it's okay not to be attached to your phone 24/7, right? Because, you know, as someone who's in the professional world, you're on your phone from time to time talking to clients or whatever it may be during your work hours, right? Like that's natural. But I also didn't want to be that guy, minus checking like the MLB scores at night or something, or like the game scores or something. But I didn't want to be that guy who was like sucked down like the path of like being attached to my phone. So I was like, I'm going to give up social media. I'm going to set a good example of like, this is to be off my own device. So all my attention's on my kids all the time. But they have the little Facebook Messenger app for the kids, but they can only, it's parent approved. So like the parents have to approve the classmates that they're talking to. So like my son has like 2 friends from school that he can talk to, and my daughter has like 3 of her friends from school she can talk to, but the parents have to approve it on their end and we have to approve it on our end. And then there's time limits on how long they can actually like talk. But that's like to the extent of what they have. Like thinking about like I've heard some friends say like their daughters have like a Facebook and like an Instagram and they're like 10, 11. I'm like, what? Like that's crazy. Like because it is so hard. And Butch, I know you're shaking your head. Like it is so hard to monitor that. Like you know what I mean? Like there's only so many settings on social media that you could set and really put in place. Like there is no like kids Facebook. Like there's YouTube Kids, but like even YouTube Kids, like when you look at YouTube Kids, like there was things we had to disable even on the YouTube side because there's a lot of things that fall through the loopholes that are posted. We tried the Roblox thing for like, because some of their friends had Roblox. That lasted maybe 30 days after some of the games that I saw that were on there. And I'm like, guys, like what is like, there's user created boards where they can do pretty much create whatever they want. And some of the content that's on there wasn't good. So I'm like, all right, no Roblox, that's gone. So listen, I think as Butch is kind of already there, like he was just saying, like his son just got Facebook, but on his own, like decided to get it on his own. I think you definitely have to be like very vigilant of like what your kids are on, what they're looking at, what they're seeing, who they're talking to, because like when we were growing up, I had 28.8 dial-up and I had something called AOL that just came out. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I had a buddy list of probably like 8 people that I talked to. And the internet moved so slow, minus being fascinated by the Blair Witch's website when Blair Witch first came out, because I thought it was real. That is like the only site I think I went to, minus logging in, talk to friends on Instant Messenger. But like how we went from that to what we have today, like my mind is like blown, like because I don't even know what the future holds, but all I know is what I can control today. And I could tell you, like I tell my daughter all the time, like she's always like, well, when you trade in your phone, can I keep your old phone? I'm like, no, like you're not getting a phone yet. If anything, we're going to buy you what we had when we were kids, which was like a track phone that you put minutes on it and it's used to call us. And if there's an emergency, like that's it. You know what I mean? We got a quarter when we were kids. They're like, use the payphone or a dime. Like, you know, I remember there used to be outside of Skateaway. There used to be the payphone outside of Skateaway. You called your parents when it was time to be picked up or go home, and then you went back inside. Like, so what the kids have today, like you really just gotta, you know, you gotta stick to that, because, you know, you always have like, well, oh, it's okay. We let our kids have it. It's fine. Well, hey, listen, every parent is different on how you parent. And I can tell you, like, this is the way that we do things because you just don't know these days. There's like weird people out there, predators, everything else. And like, you don't know who your kids are talking to. And you don't know if it's, especially like on Facebook, I would imagine, and Instagram, when you're on the messengers, like it could be somebody saying, I'm this person, and it's really not them. You don't know. I mean, so you got to really be vigilant. So that's kind of my thoughts on it is like, our kids just, they stick to an Amazon Fire tablet for their age. They have their kid appropriate games they play, and have their internet turn on and turn off at a certain time so they don't have all that screen time, and they actually get out and do like real life things, like with real life friends, like at parks and ride bikes and do hikes with us and all the fun stuff that we did as kids. So they're not stuck to a tablet all day. So
Facebook now is basically, John, you'll know, as when you have a business, it's kind of just a business tool. That's the way I use it now. I use, for advertising for the rink, and more so for the rink. I don't even really use it. I used to, back in the day when I was trying to build, you can use it for hair, for posting things, but I'm just done with that. But now we use it basically for the rink. But also the one cool thing about it is it's like a scrapbook of your family. That's the one thing I like about it is memories will pop up of from 10 years ago with your kids that you forgot about that picture. That's the only one thing I do like about it. But the kids now are kind of like Facebook's for old people. That's what Facebook.
It's the MySpace of today.
Yeah, that's the old people app. And so like, I think now it's basically mostly Snapchat and TikTok that are the two ones that the kids use the most. But even that, my wife actually gets paid from TikTok just from skate videos.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she started making skate videos and just posting them on TikTok, and she had a couple of them hit 3 million, 2 million, and she got a couple really big ones, and she doesn't make a lot, a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there, but it's a cool way. Again, she films all the customers and the family, and we'll see nice little girls come in that look real cute skating with their mom, and she'll like, can I film you guys and put you on TikTok? So like the apps could be used for good. It's just too many people use them for bad.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest fear is like, us staying, me, I'm like half stupid. I feel like when it comes to technology, like, and I feel like I'm scared about having to try and learn all these things before my kids do, because they can outsmart me if I'm not on top of it. Because you're right, it's a scary world.
It really is.
It is.
Now, did you see that new Apple Vision thing that's coming out?
Yeah, it's crazy you said that. I watched that whole like 10-minute video that they posted, and my wife was like, she's like, this is insane. Like, who's gonna go and buy this? I'm like, listen, this is what it's gonna be.
Gonna sell it the first day. We're all gonna be like Wall. You ever see the movie Wall-E?
Yes.
In our chairs.
In the chairs. Yeah.
That's
what our soda pops.
It's crazy.
But I think that's just gonna encourage isolation.
Yeah, it is.
It's
100%.
It already does. What the kids now with the gaming, like it already does. They just want to sit. Now they still talk to each other. Like my son plays video games all the time, and talks with his friends on there. And it's
right.
But they do. A lot of these kids just don't want to leave the house. They don't want to. They want to just sit in the room and play games. And they're gonna have not only vision effects, but like their posture, all these problems they're going to have with their phones in the future, these kids. So that's why, I feel for you guys having younger ones, because it's a scary world. It's a scary future. Like what's coming, that's a scary thought.
Well, it's funny you say that, is that I think the scary part about it all is that, like, Popko, you and I are around the same age. So, the era that we grew up in, right? So, a lot of people talk about the Gen Zers now. Now I think it's like Gen Alpha is like the latest one now. It goes up to like 20 something. I think is I forget what the year range is. But like, not even so much. Like, I think we were raised at a time where we're taking what we were taught as children, and we're taking that. We're also kind of what our parents taught us, we're putting on our children now. I think about, like, as my kids are being raised by my wife and I, and we're kind of trying to put on them what we were taught as younger. Like as they get older, I'm hoping that they take what we're teaching them to teach their kids, to still be able to go out and enjoy real life and go on hikes and enjoy stuff rather than, you know, the stuff that's out there today. Where versus like maybe some of these other kids that are growing up now and their kids, like maybe they have a different kind of view on it because we kind of experience like being kids playing in the dirt, playing with our Transformers, doing those things. And I'm so happy that my son is like huge into Transformers because like we were when we were kids, and like the new movies coming out and he just bought all these new little Transformer toys, and like, you know, he loves Star Wars and he likes all this stuff. Like a lot of these people, like I heard somebody talking the other day and like the one person didn't even know what Star Wars was. And I'm like, how do you not know what like Star Wars is? It's like, it's all over again. Like, you know, like it kind of, there's like a cycle where things keep going through a cycle. But like seeing the new Apple product, which like you brought it up, like Wally's a perfect reference to that because it really is like that. Like my wife's like, okay, who's going to be sitting in the living room, even though they can look at people in real time, but then also have this virtual kind of world around them. Like who's going to sit there with these goggles on their head and like have a conversation? I'm like, believe it or not, there will be people out there that actually do that.
That will sell out day one.
That's going to be their only thing that they do, and they don't know how to unhook, right? So like, I think for us, I think for Popko and I think we definitely have our challenges because we don't know how much more technology can go and what's going to be brought and what's going to be out there for the kids at that time. But I think it's more concerning for like, if my kids have kids, like what that's going to look like, because I'm hoping they kind of take the lessons that like were passed down to us and then we pass on to them versus like other people who are just like, meh, like, you know, the people like who don't go to Skateaway anymore, who don't go and ride a skateboard or ride bikes. Like I drove by the basketball hoops the other day and there's one single kid playing basketball out there. I'm like, when we were kids, we lived at this park. We were shooting hoops all the time. Now it's like, you know, everyone's stuck behind in the Wally setting, if that's a great reference to use. So
did you ever see, was it Grown Ups 2 where Adam Sandler, his kids, like they don't want to disconnect and he takes them camping?
Yes.
Yeah. I tell you guys, like, so when my kids were little, we became friends with a group of actually their classmates' parents, and they had a camper. So I bought a camper and we all started camping together, and we'd go to these different campgrounds. And that was the one thing that my kids still loved because they got to play like we did. Like when we were kids, we could walk to our neighbor's house. We could go down the street and do that stuff. I can't do that now. Well, when we were camping, and remember, like when the street lights came on and when it got dark, you had to come home. Mm-hmm. So we started camping, and we'd camp with this group, and then all these kids would stay together, and they got to do that. They got to go play and just, like you said, get dirty and, you know, go look for frogs in the water. Let's do things like that. And then, you know, when it got dark, they'd come back and you know, it was the best thing we did for our kids was buy that camper and just start camping, because we went all over the East Coast pretty much. And my kids are 19 and 17, and I got rid of my camper now, but they said, we want to go again. They loved it so much. And it's another thing. I'll probably get another one when my daughter has kids and start taking them again, because it just, the kids got to play and disconnect. Like I said, like Grown Ups 2, where as kids, they didn't know, they were from New York, and they didn't know how to just, and then they started having fun being kids again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Adam, like you and I, like we had a life where half of our life we had no internet and half of our life had internet, but we kind of, by the time internet came, we were like old enough to understand both sides of it. And even like reality TV, like that you see on TV now, it's like when that started to hit big, like I knew that it wasn't real. Like I knew it was already set up and fake. Like kids now are seeing the shit. They think like the Kim Kardashian and all that shit, like that's real life. And they need to have like X, Y, and Z. Like,
sure. Yeah.
It's like normal life for them. It's crazy. They don't know the difference.
I think the other thing too is like you just have to, like, I love talking to the kids about like the things we did when we were growing up, because like they like to ask those questions. Like, you know, sometimes my daughter will be like, what were some of the things you like to do when you were like a kid? I'm like, similar to what you guys do now, like play outside, play hide and go seek, like, I know we would do camping. We would go up the lake. We would go fishing. Like we just took our kids fishing. We'll be going back out fishing again, but we took them fishing last year, and like they had a blast. It was the first time we got their license for them. We took them out fishing, and they had a blast. Even though it was a tough day catching anything, we still had a blast going out and doing that, right? And like just giving them those experiences like that we had. Like and Popko, I agree with you. I think what was nice about our time frame growing up is that we got to experience all that was great of the 80s and early 90s during that time. But then we also got the experience of like, having the internet. But like the internet at the time was like, it wasn't what it is today.
No.
So you were very limited to what you could do anyway. Like, yeah, you could talk to your friends like as if you're texting them like you would on your phone today. Or you could spend time hoping that your mom didn't pick up the phone while you were downloading an album off of Napster, and then you got mad at her because you lost your connection to some guy named Kenny from Connecticut, and you were trying to get the Pearl Jam album, right? Like that was different, right? Things were different then. But like I think that was probably the coolest thing at the time. Outside of that, you're like, this is kind of boring. I let it sit anyway, and you still went out and did things. Now everything is like right at everybody's fingertips. Like, my daughter asked me something the other day. I'm like, how'd you know that? She's like, my friends were talking about it. They saw it. It was like in one of the little things on like the Google thing her mom was looking at. I'm like, it's just amazing to me that you can get just how fast things come to you today. So it draws people in more because they have access to it. But I think if you just kind of teach your kids there's more to life than just what you have here, and you can kind of pass down what was passed down to you. Like, you can still have them live that life and still be able to have a little fun on a tablet as well if they want, right? So
yeah. Well, I feel like we could talk about like all night, literally, and I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. It's getting late on a Thursday night, but how important do you think? Or I mean, it obviously is, but like we're all married, and our wives are a huge part of our lives and who we are as people, and who our kids are. How important are they to you?
Our wives?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and you'll see, you'll go through ups and downs. We just had our 20th anniversary this year. Together 23 years, had our 20th anniversary. And there's always, with the kids and life, and it's ups and downs and ups and downs. And the best thing we ever did was we went to counseling to try to, just to try to make sure that we were the best we could be for the kids. And it's the best thing we ever did, because so many people, and especially, guys, they think, well, I'll do the outside work, you do the inside work, or that you have to really be supportive of your wife. You have to be 50-50. You have to help her because housework sucks, and it does. And you have to do your part. You can't, if she's working all day and then comes home and has to do all the housework and wants to cook for you, and you're going to be butting heads, you're going to be fighting, you want to support her, because if your kids see a healthy relationship with the two of you,
right,
they're going to see, and that's what they're going to want. How many girls you see that have daddy issues? Why do you think they have daddy issues? You know what I mean? Because or they see their dad being verbally abusive to their mother, or they see that, so they see you guys butting heads or fighting over something that can be avoided. And that's what I could even give you guys like advice, because I've been married a little longer, and by far early on in the relationship, I'm like, I'm not going to see no therapist. What do they know? Like, for the first 5 years, the first 10 years, like, yeah, right. Nobody's going to tell me, because you think you know it all. But as it goes on, you learn, like you grow together, and you want, when the kids you successfully raise them and they're grown and moving on, you want to have still a solid relationship. I've heard, like I said, because I do a lot of women's hair, and a lot of people are like, oh, the minute the kids are gone, we're done. We're just staying together to do that, and you don't want that, because the kids feel that, they see that. You want to have that strong bond with the two of you, so they know that, and they feel that, and I think it's only going to help them in their relationship in the future.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on. I mean, we've been together, coming on 18 years together, and then 11 married. So we we dated young, and then here we are, fast forward 11 years later, married and 18 together. And I would say, yeah, I mean, listen, I would be, I am nothing without my wife. She is the best. I mean, she does everything. I mean, I think we have a good chemistry when it comes to, I love to clean. She likes to clean. So I'm a clean freak. So like, I'm always like, I'll do the upstairs. She'd be like, I'll tackle the downstairs. I'll do all the financial things that we need to do financially. But like, when it comes to like cooking, like first and foremost, like I can fry up like maybe a grilled cheese and an egg, right? Like I'm pretty good at grilled cheeses. That's probably the only thing I'm at. Like she is like the meals, remembers everything. It's like, my daughter needs this, my son needs that, this is that. Like she's got, like, she prioritizes all this stuff where I kind of lack in that department. But I think there's like some areas where are my strong point, maybe not her strong point, and then my low point, but maybe her strong. So like it kind of all works out. But I think it's also just reminding your significant other that they're important as well, and that you're thankful for what they do, because I wouldn't be able to do it without her. And I think that makes you stronger. And I think the other thing too is, we both came from, divorced families. So for us, we always had said that it's, for us, we're going to be always together no matter what, because number one, I want my children to grow up and appreciate the fact that their parents are together, but appreciate the fact that their parents are really in love with each other, and that they, it's not just like, oh, like you said, like, we're only together until the kids get older and we peace out. No, like we made a commitment, we made a bond. And when we have any type of argument or we butt heads, because it happens in every relationship, we talk about it. My wife is a therapist. Like she can't give me, I mean, I think I get therapy from her, even though I don't realize it's like subliminal. I'm like, wait, did she just give me therapy? Wow, I feel better. Maybe, I don't know. But I think like we have a good way of like, we can't go to bed mad at each other. Like we always have to talk about things, or like we take the time to talk about it. And sometimes I'm a knucklehead. Like maybe I don't always like digest what she's putting down. And then I go, God, I'm such an idiot. I didn't digest that. And then I'll go back and be like, you know what? You were right. I was wrong. And I think it's okay to like admit when you're wrong and they're right. And she's good at when she knows she's wrong and I was right. But I think that's the most important thing. And I think I think it's great when we can do that, because for us, like we don't argue in front of the kids. Like we don't have any type of things like that with kids. Like we're civil people where we can actually have a conversation, and it's made our relationship stronger over the years. So I think I'm very thankful for everything I got for what I have. So.
Yeah, they're definitely amazing. As crazy as they are, I will say that out loud.
Yeah.
I mean, we are too, but I mean, like,
yeah,
I'd probably be dead in a gutter somewhere. And I mean, as far as kids go, I mean, and they kind of bust our balls. There's a whole thing, like a meme on social media where, if you go on vacation, the mom packs for all the kids, and like the dad packs like the shirt and a pair of pants for himself. And that's the truth.
It is the truth, 100%.
Not in my case.
No, you do it all.
Opposite.
You do it all.
My wife's like the guy. It's so funny. Yeah, we make a joke about it. I'm like, she just has to put her ass in the passenger seat.
That's funny. Dude, I remember we just got back from vacation, but we're like driving down the road on the turnpike. I'm like, oh man, we forgot XYZ. She's like, no, we didn't. I got it. I'm like, oh shit, we forgot. Yeah. Like, no, I got it. Don't worry about it. And it's like, me saying that, 2 hours down the road is not going to be helpful at all. But she's always got it taken care of. And
yeah,
they have
balances. Like that's if you're like exactly like you said. I don't know if you're a little lower here, she's a little higher here. It balances each other out.
Balances out. I mean, and she'll call me out when I'm wrong, and I'll accept it. I'm like, listen, you're 100. I'm not even going to battle you because you're 100% right. Like there will be times like we're getting ready to go on vacation as well. And I remember when I was like packing my suitcase this week, I'm like, well, I think I got everything unpacked up. She's like, well, you still have your kids. We still have this. We still have that. I'm like, God, am I being selfish right now and saying that I just packed my suitcase and I didn't think about anything else except for myself? You're right. Let me rewind. So I like come out of the room like this and I come back in. Let me try that again. Like, it's like, so do we have everything? Let me get the checklist here because I'm done, but I know everybody else isn't done. So let me try, it's like the little things you could do to make things better and put light to the situation. Then, so it's, it's a good balance.
It is.
It's tough. Relationships in general are hard, but it's good.
You got to just work towards them. I feel like too many people give up in life anymore and they don't work towards it. And I think that's easy. It's easy the biggest thing. It is. I mean, you hit the nail on the head.
It's easy to give up, and it's easy to. But again, you have to think about those two little ones that are looking at you and thinking, if you give up, then maybe when they get older, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm giving up." Like they watch that stuff. And like it's different if it's a bad situation. I'm not saying that, but
sure.
For the most part, as long as you're two level-headed people that want to work towards the same goal, it shouldn't be hard to communicate. It's all about communication. That's what it is.
Communication, absolutely. That's it.
Key.
Everything.
It is.
Everything. It's hard though too. It's hard.
It is for sure. But like I said, it gets easier, and you grow together, and you learn together, and you go through these stages of good times and hard times, and the kids this and the kids that, and you just muddle through everything and try to do the best you can. That's all you can do is try to be the best you can for your kids, for your wife, for everything, for your job.
Yeah. What do you think about people who don't want kids? It's like a hot topic. Like, we're assholes because we have kids and we think everyone should have kids or whatever it might be. But like,
well, in my opinion, is if you don't want kids, you're probably not going to be a good parent. Yeah. You know what I mean? But then there's people that, like, for instance, Brandon Rice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brandon, he started at my shop young, never wanted kids. Never. I'm like, Brandon, you're young. You think that now. You think you don't want kids. And he kept saying, I'm never having kids. Now he's like, oh my God, I love having kids. I love having a kid. Like but there's certain people that just aren't made that way. And not that they're selfish. Hey, if you want to enjoy your life and you go out and drink and travel and do all that stuff, go ahead. But me personally, I remember the first time my wife and I, we got married and we went to the beach the first time as a married couple, and we're sitting there and I'm like looking around at all the people playing with their kids. And I'm like, this would be so much more fun if we had kids. We're just sitting here. Like, I mean, I guess to me, not that, like I said, I don't think they're selfish, but they don't want to give themselves to someone else.
Yeah.
And if you, like Adam said, when you bring that home and you have to take care of that, and you're responsible for that thing, they don't want that. And that's okay. That's on them.
I always said, yeah, I always said, I want to, just for a day, I want to have them feel like what we feel, and not to change their mind or persuade them for anything. Like if they had that moment that day and that's all I wanted, would be fine. But like, I want them to feel what it feels like to have that connection and that love. And that's, I don't know what to call it sometimes, just like, just the happiness that that fulfillment.
Yeah.
So much just for a day.
I think you said it. I think Popko, I think it's exactly right. I feel like what people will get out of that is, I mean, I've got some friends that don't have kids and have talked about it, but it's not like something that's in the cards, or like maybe they might not ever have kids, but just to give them that experience. I mean, what I love about when I come home from work or like the kids come home from school is like, your kids never judge you. Like, you can look like a piece of crap when you come out of waking up in the morning and they think you're the best looking thing in the world, where you're kind of judging yourself. You're like, man, I look like shit today. But your kids are like, Dad, you look awesome, right? Like, really? They never judge you.
Your kids must be amazing, because my son's called me not fat, but
they love you for who you are. But like, it's like, even when I got home today, my son's running, Dad, we missed you. And then my daughters run over, look, mommy and I got our nails done, Dad. I couldn't wait to show you my nails. Like, it's like you're important when you come in. And then the dog runs over, my dog's like scratching at my leg. I'm like, look, even my dog loves me today. But like, I think it's like that feeling of like, they just care for you so much, and they don't care about anything else except for that you're their dad, and they think the world of you, and you're like their superhero, and you can do everything. And it's such a cool feeling. And I think if you can, even if somebody was like, well, I don't think I'll ever have kids, like, hey, here's the feeling I'm going to give you. Let me take off my invisible dad vest and give it to you for like a little bit to see what you think. Test it out. If you like it, I bet you it changes your world, right? Like, it seriously does. Because I remember like in high school, remember they used to give you like those like fake babies you had to put like a key in, and like you had to like take care of the baby. Did you ever have that in high school? We had that in high school. They sent you home with like a fake baby, and you had to like put a key in it, and you had a baby like feed it, and like that experience, like thinking back to that, it's like does not prepare you at all for what really comes. Like, this is a baby you put a key in, and you could turn it on and turn it off when you don't want to. Like, you can't just put a key in your baby today and be like, okay, I'm gonna shut you off. But like, I think if you give them like the invisible dad vest and say, hey, try this for a little bit, I guarantee you they're like, this is the greatest thing in the world. And Butch, I think you said it, like, then you were talking about just that joy, that experience of that. And like, you know, when the baby first comes out, like we were talking in the beginning of the conversation, like there's a feeling that you can't describe to people. Like, I try to tell people who are becoming first time parents, I'm like, I can't even describe the feeling to you. You just got to kind of feel for your own, because everybody's experience is different. But like, when I think of it, it's like, it's so overwhelming with good memories and emotion. Like, it's what gives you the baby fever to say, maybe I'll have a third, maybe I'll have a fourth. And you're like, okay, wait, so I'll keep it with two. But then you're like, maybe I will have a third. I don't know. It's like that feeling. You're like, it's such a great feeling as a father. It just overjoys you, for any parents, mother or father. It's just the greatest feeling.
It makes you wonder, though, like on the other end of it, how someone has that and could feel that and walks away from it. Like that.
I know.
Blows my
we talk about that all the time. It's crazy.
That's what saying about with people not wanting them. Some people have them and they just walk away from them. I'll never understand.
I don't understand that. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't understand it.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. It's heartbreaking. But I feel like they're the kids that grow up that do the same thing.
Oh, it's a vicious cycle. I mean, that's what happens. That's the problem.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny too how the people who are shit parents, it's so easy for them to have children, but there are people who want kids so bad, who struggle. There's a friend of mine who they lost a premature baby. I forget, maybe they were alive for a couple days, and she is doing like a foster situation, and the baby that she got was actually 8 months old, but had the body of a 3 or 4 month old because it was malnourished, all this kind of different like shit. And it's like, how could you do that to this baby? Like, it's heartbreaking. I want to cry talking about it. It's just like, there's people who want this so bad and can't have it, but there's people, and I think this is the woman's fourth or third child. But like, you're not feeding your child, and their other kids are hungry too. Like, that's like how could you let a kid go hungry? Like, that's it's
like seeing this stuff on the news. Like when we watching like the news and stuff, and I see these things on the news with like these parents, like the stories. I mean, you guys probably heard the stories before of like people that are leave their kids in like a trash bag, or like just dumped it. Like, it's like, what in the world like possesses you to do like you're just an evil person. Like, that is just beyond, like, and it makes me sad. And I think as a father, I've just like, even for me, like, I remember when I used to go on work trips, like I would have to go to Orlando, or I'd have to go to like Vegas, or I'd have to go here. Like, everyone's like, oh, you're going to these places, it's so cool. And like, the first thing I think about when I get on that plane is my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if something happened while I'm up here? God forbid, I don't go back to them. I always think about the worst case scenario when I'm not around my kids, because it really, like, I think that's the other thing. Like, that always used to freak me out. And that's why I had recently changed roles within my company, is that I just got kind of like traveling all the time. And then I was like, what happens if something happens and I don't get to see my kids again? And it used to bother me tremendously. So now that I'm back where I'm in control, making my own schedule and doing what I'm doing, I feel so much better, because I'm like, my kids will be like, oh, dad doesn't have to go anywhere. He doesn't have to do this or he doesn't do that. And that makes me feel good, because I'm like always around my kids. Like, I don't know. I think I'm just like weird like that. But every time I used to travel, I used to always feel like I'd call my kids the minute I got off the plane, the minute I got on the plane. And everyone's like, like some of my coworkers were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I got to go FaceTime with my kids. They're like, you just saw them. Like, yeah, well, I'm not like you, bro. Like, I got to go FaceTime my kids, because like I miss my daughter, I miss my son. Like, I got to go talk to them. So like, I don't know. They're wrapped around me and I'm wrapped around them for sure. It's like but it's just a great feeling. I don't know how any other words describe
you guys
that.
traveled without them yet? Because that's even worse. That's even worse.
Yes, you know what? We did. Was it last year or the year before? And that was painful.
It is.
Because it was just kind of like a little anniversary getaway. So like we're going on vacation this weekend, and like for the majority they're always with us. But when we did the anniversary trip, that was like, as soon as we got to like the room, we were like all pumped, excited. We had some champagne in the room, and my wife is like, we're sitting there like, we're like turning the TV on. I think we were still watching like live PD at the time. That's how like old we are. We're like, oh, let's watch live PD while we're on our anniversary trip and drink a glass of wine. And we're like, we miss the kids. Let's FaceTime with the kids. Like, it's amazing. Like, you just become like, you go right back into like, oh yeah, like you're not that person anymore when you were like 25 and you're out having a good time. When you're a parent, it changes. You're like, kind of miss our kids. Like, let's FaceTime them, pour a glass of, like, and the kids are like, Mom, Dad, what are you guys doing? We miss you. We're like, Dad's wearing his like New Balances like on the bed because he's like old. He's got the white and blue ones on, and like we're watching live PD. It's like,
we just went on our 20th anniversary. We went on a cruise for the first time, and we had like, we've gone on like smaller, like maybe 2-3 day trips without the kids, but they're 19 and 17. That was our first time actually leaving, and we had family members like staying or helping them out and stuff like that. But day 2 on the cruise, my wife is like, I can't wait to come and see the kids. I can't get. She started making a little calendar of count the days on to get the hell home, because and like our kids are older, but she just misses. She just loves the kids. She doesn't want to be away from them.
It's a real thing, man. That's like, I tell people all the time, like, you always hear people that, always like, oh, I can't wait to get away for a couple days, and do this or do that. Like, I've got friends who are like, oh, we're going on our trip. Like, I'm like, oh, we miss the kids. Like, no, we won't miss kids. I'm like, no way, dude. You always miss your kids. And you know what? It's funny. Like, they come back to like, yeah, we missed our kids. Like, no matter how many you try to put that in your head as a parent, it doesn't work. Like, you always get to like day 2, day 3, and you're like, curious to know what the kids are doing. Let's call them. I miss them, Yeah. So I think it's a special thing. It's a special bond. It's really hard to describe, especially if you're not a parent. I think it's hard to like really tell somebody that feeling, because you always have that friend like who's never going to get married, who's never going to have kids. He's like, hey man, you want to go to the bar? Like, still at like 60. You're like, no, bro. Like, I'm in tonight.
It's crazy when they're the ones still that try to give you parenting advice.
Yeah, exactly.
They know how to raise kids, but they don't have any kids.
That's so funny. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, it's hard. I mean, for sure, but it's the best thing in the world.
It is
100%.
Well, we'll wrap things up. What's one thing you would say to a future parent to get them ready for parenthood? Butch, you go first.
Okay. I would say be patient, and just enjoy it. Like, enjoy every second, the good, the bad, because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And like I said, just remember that these kids are watching your every move, and take it all in, and they are going to be what you create. And remember that. Remember, everything you say, everything you do reflects on those little ones. And even when you think they're not listening and they're not watching, they're listening and watching. So always be aware of that and be conscious of that. And if you do that, and you know, I think you'll more people would create good little humans if they actually tried a little harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said, Butch. I think you said it perfect. I mean, patience is you definitely have to have patience for sure. We're all not experts when we first become parents. I could tell you, I didn't know shit. Like, it was like, there's like a commercial that I saw recently that kind of sums it up. It was like the dad who had his first kid, and he was like in the shower trying to get ready, and he's like trying to do this. And then he has a second son, but he's got this baby, and he's like, this time, and he's like, he's still swaddling the baby over here, because you become like so much more used to when you have the second kid. But no one's experts in parenting when you first become a parent. So definitely be patient for sure. Things are going to happen. You may do something different than somebody else does different. Like, you got to just kind of roll with it, and you got to just kind of trust your own instincts and your own gut that you guys are doing the right things, and it all works out. The second thing I would say is definitely enjoy every second, like we talked about before, every second, every minute, every hour, because it goes by super fast. Like, I think sometimes we get caught up in this thing in life where I think we always think we're promised tomorrow or next week or the month after. And Popko, I know you and I can relate to this, but like, this whole experience with Bob this past year really changed my whole perspective on life. And for anybody who didn't know Bob, his perspective was like, you didn't finish something at work, it's okay. It could wait till tomorrow, because if your kids have a game, or if you're something that revolves around your kids, it's way more important than anything you're going to be doing at work anyway, because that can wait. Like, his perspective was always just, you know, live in the moment, live today. And that really changed my whole perspective on just enjoying the time that we have, because we're not guaranteed all the time. So like, take the time, like, you know, you have a pressing thing coming up. Can you put it on hold? Because there's probably other things that are important, like going to your kid's recital, going and you know, seeing your kid play baseball, or whatever it is that you want to do, or schedule that vacation that you wanted to schedule and do things, right? Like, I feel like we're not guaranteed time. And I think sometimes we do think that we're guaranteed time, but we're not. So definitely take every second, minute, and enjoy it, because it goes by fast. Butch, your kids are fully grown now. Popko and I are rolling through we're rolling through it, you know, little by little, but
I decided to start over again. I had a kid who was self-sufficient, no diapers, you know, all that kind of stuff. If you need something from the fridge, you can get it. And I started over. But one thing I want to say about Bob Foley, I think it's hilarious. Something he used to do. We used to work together in radio at Rock 107. Yep. And you know, Bob loved life, man. He was such a special person, and it's a shame what happened, and you know, his family doesn't deserve it. And but one thing, we had a boss we were required to be there from 8:30 to 5:30. Those were the hours. Even as a salesperson, you know, we were 100% commission sales reps. Like, all, you know, they shouldn't even care where we are. Like, if we're hitting the numbers or whatever, then leave us alone, right? But we had this boss that was 8:30 to 5:30 every day. And Bob, what he would do is there was an entrance to the floor from an elevator, and there was also a back stairwell. And Bob would disappear down the back stairwell, and it was just so we can go see his, you know, kids doing whatever they were doing. And it was amazing, and I would laugh every time, because, you know, our boss would go looking for him to make sure like we're all at our seats until 5:30, like we're in school or something. And where'd Foley go? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Out of here.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it, you know. And that's the kind of guy Bob was. He knew how important his kids were, and I think his son was Not too. I forget when he found out that he was having his son. I don't know if it was a year after my son or around the same time. I forget.
It could have been close around the same time. Popko.
Yeah, he was pumped because he had a little girl first. And he was pumped about having a boy, and um, his wife is beautiful, and it's just, again, it's a shame that happened. That's what breaks my heart the most. I'm sad that he's gone, but just his family was robbed of a great human being. But it happens 100%. A lot. You know, it's what you said. We're not promised tomorrow, and that happens far too often. And it's I can only pray that doesn't happen to me or any of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
A friend of mine from Texas, he said this is what changed my perspective a little bit, because sometimes you fall off, you do make mistakes, and you have to pull yourself back up. But he said his father would always tell him, someday we're going to go this, we're going to go fish here, someday we're going to go fish here, someday we're going to go do this, we're going to do this, and that someday never came. Life got in the way, or he worked too much, or this and that, and he and then he passed away, and they never did those things he always promised. So he said, don't have a someday life, have a today life, and do things, and do the things you say. Don't just promise your kids you're going to do something. Do things with them and enjoy them and take them places. And so that's why I do as much as I can. I've always take them on vacations. We go here, we go there. I try to do as much as I can and give them those experiences, because they're, like you said, you're not promised anything.
Yeah.
You see it so often. You see tragedy, and you see, with cancer, different things. You see all these different things happening. So you have to not necessarily leave a legacy, but you want to be remembered as the good, the superhero, like you said, for your kids.
Yeah. 100%.
There's a good follow on Instagram. I know, Adam, you said you got off it, but it's called, anyone listening or watching, it's called The Tired Dad. It's a good follow. Kind of puts what we've been talking about into perspective as far as time and, just watching your kids, and I think he actually did something similar to what you just said, Butch, about, we'll do it next year, or, we'll save for the vacation for next year, or we'll get there someday. And, the daughter was 3, and then she's like 7, and the kids want nothing to do with them. And it's like, that's what happens too. And they say you can only be Santa Claus for, 12 times, right. Or,
like Disney princesses till a certain, get a small window stuff.
Certain amount of time until they don't want anything to do with you, until you embarrass them, until they come back around, 10 years later. But it's a fun ride. Thank you for talking about, your experiences and your journeys. And I know I could talk about this all night. There's so much I feel like we didn't touch on, but
really can't.
We don't have time for that.
All your listeners, we'll just let your listeners know there's just a 5-part series, so we'll be back for 5 more parts.
Yeah, we'll come back next year. We'll pick up and talk about the year. We'll do a year in review. But I'm sure Butch wants to get home out of the
absolutely
the roll-in rig. Yeah, Butch, real quick. I mean, Skate Away on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that kind of fun stuff.
Skate Away Wilkes-Barre on Facebook. Yep.
Yeah, Blackman Street, Wilkes-Barre.
Butch, do we still light up the couples only all skate sign?
Can you see it down there? Let me see if I can. Hold on.
Because I mean that's what really makes Skate Away special. Is that I never was out there too much for couples only, minus like myself and my invisible girlfriend. But I mean, outside of that,
what's up?
Light up the couples.
Oh boy, we're getting.
This is a special request. I feel right now.
Yeah.
Where do you see this? Can you see it down there? Hold on.
Now I see it, and it still glows the same color.
Yeah, red. All skates.
I love that.
I don't know. That's pretty.
Popko, if we go to Skate Away, like you and I will go out on the couple side. We'll just hold hands and skate.
I don't know, Butch. That's pretty. It's called discrimination in 2023. I don't think that's appropriate.
Couples.
Well, no. I mean, like you can't just let them go and not everybody else. This is, how dare you? No, I
Trust me, there's times that people like when we have we'll have men or ladies only. We don't say anything to anybody anymore. If you want to go out, go out. Whatever you want to do.
Right.
That's it.
I
Do you
love
still have the saucers? The saucers are still there, right? Like we could sit on the
Mushrooms.
saucers.
Yeah, the mushrooms. We still have those. Like the seats.
Yeah.
We still have the mushrooms. Like they're dinosaurs. They're like originals from like 72. So I'm not getting rid of those.
That's awesome.
I love the benches against the wall too. Those were the best. You need a break.
Yeah.
I remember this when I was young. I was in like it was daycare during the summertime. I would go during the summer, and the time it was, I think it was Roller King in Kingston.
Yeah.
Is that
Live wire?
Yeah. So I would go there, and there was this girl I liked that was young, like I said, and there was this kid. His name was Chris Bath. Chris Bath, if you're watching, this kid was he was an amazing skater, backwards, whatever way, and all the girls were like in love with him.
The 1-footer,
good-looking kid, skating backwards around the whole thing, and I'm like, I'm a young kid. I'm like, I'm too afraid to even like attempt that. Like, I'll never forget that. And the girl that I liked, she was like in love with him.
Did you ever watch the Brett Ernst? He's a comedian. It's Brett Ernst. Look it up on YouTube. The roller skating.
I'll have to check that out.
He's describing what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I'd go to the skating rink and I'd wear the peanut butter skates. And I'd be playing my game, and all of a sudden my song would come on, and I go out there and I'm like, he's like, I'm on the floor like this, and all of a sudden here comes fucking Tony. With the skates on. He's like this. He's doing his moves. He's going backwards. He's like, man, fuck Tony, I'm going to skate. You gotta watch it.
I will.
It's the exact story you just said.
Right. I'll never forget it.
It's like roller skating. You'll laugh your ass off.
I forget the girl's name, but I remember his name just because like that's like burnt in my memory. And it turns out
a perfect movie script.
Yeah, it's great. You watch, you'll laugh.
It turns out I think I went to school with his sister was like at Lehman, like she was a year or two younger than me, so I'm sure he was in school ahead of me too. I forget. But yeah, it's funny. I want to say her name was Wendy. I don't remember. I can't remember, but I remember his name very vividly. Chris Bath. You son of a bitch.
Yeah, Chris. He was her pan.
Yeah. What do you watch? Fuck Tony.
I will. My computer's actually going to die, so we have to go now.
All right, good. All right.
But guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You guys are great dads, great husbands.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you. Same to you, my man.
Happy Father's Day to you guys, and hopefully
happy Father's Day to you guys.
Thank you. Hopefully we can reconnect soon.
Sure. Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Yep. Later, Butch.
Bye.